Chandrina Ajamara of Blue Stocking Company is joining us today. So thank you all for joining us. Smooches. Oh my goodness, Smooches. So you get a chance to join me on the Smooches sofa for our Zoom series live. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to know what brings you here to the Smooch sofa at
What
lunch.
right. I guess a plethora of things. The thing that I wanted to share the most is a little bit about me and who I am. And also when it comes down to the children, I'm definitely looking forward to starting a virtual educational program for children for that's more geared towards engineering and technology. So they can see more people like me.
Okay, so
And not only a woman being black, a black woman.
okay, so your biggest mission is being able to go out in the community, and there's a couple of things that I noticed, and if you have been our viewers and our listeners, you can see that we're going to be talking a little bit about education, robotics technology for people of color, and we're also going to be talking about entrepreneurship. Some of those things that are very imminent in our community now as we begin to evolve as a community. So let's get right into it. Miss Chandrina, and I must say, it took me a minute to be able to actually pronounce your last name, but am I not mistaken when I say it's Ajamara?
Ajamara, yes. And that's actually my middle name.
Oh my goodness. So another key to who you really are. We get to see you and you. That's right. And so that's your middle name. So what does it mean?
I don't really know. I've caught myself trying to do some research myself. And throughout the years, I've saw a couple of things, but my mom, quote unquote, being creative, my mother was influenced during the Civil Rights Movement and Black Panther Party. So her, when she lost her mother, she was raised by her aunt, who was really an activist. And she's actually has a clip inside the Civil Rights Museum in Savannah, Georgia. She was really had a big presence of civil rights movement. And so by that influence, she gave me the name. She says she made it up, but I come to see now that I'm older that there are other people with that name that's from more of Indian and Middle Eastern name. And
yes. Okay. All right. So there's some background history. And I always say that your name sometimes precedes your purpose. Sometimes we have to grow into our names. We get made fun of. Some of us have been made fun of our names. So it's a good thing that you are with your name at the right time.
Right.
Life, because now you have your name has more power to
it.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but I like to go all the way back, and I know that there's some interest that you have, but I want to start. I thought I was going to start at the beginning, but I think I'm going to start in the middle. So I'd like to go back and wonder what was Chandrina at age 21. Who could we say that?
Oh, girl, did you go there? Chandrina at age 21 was working as an industrial electrician in the automotive field, doing automotive and PLCs in Detroit, Michigan, working for Fanic Robotics.
What up, Detroit?
What up, though? What's that? And so I was on my way, either I was married or engaged to be married. And that was it. Just living my life and having fun and being grown, and a lot of my counterparts, my colleagues, well, I can say colleagues, but my peers were going to college. I had a really, really great career.
And I think that makes sense for someone with so much agility, especially mental agility as yourself, being able to do things. So do you find it hard, because there's a couple of things that you have levitating, and we're going to get into that in just a moment after we get
Okay.
from our commercial break. But
Yes.
yes, if you're just tuning in, you're live on the Zoom series Sofa with Chandrina Ajamara, and
Yes.
Smooch is your host. And we're talking a little bit about, you know, the beginning, the middle, and the end of how someone evolves as a person into their purpose. And today we get to
Yes.
see Chandrina's journey. Smooches. Yeah, so it's about the smooch. Everybody say, well, you move from the lips into the eyes. I say, yes, those two are supposed to work together.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but tell me a little bit about how you even got interested into, you don't hear too many women saying, well, I worked for automotive industry. How
Yes.
does a girl child, and this is for you dads out there,
Oh,
how do
yes.
you get your daughter interested in other fields that mostly are male dominated? And how did you get your start? What gave you what ignited this in you?
Being a daddy's girl, first and foremost, I'm a straight diehard daddy's girl.
Shout
Anybody
out to
know
all the
I
daddy girls.
look like
I'm a
my
daddy's
daddy.
girl too.
I act like my daddy. I was everything my daddy was doing, I was trying to do with him, just sharing in his glory. You know, my sister was a mama's girl, I was a daddy's girl. So it was even out. So my daddy had he had this a tool department or a tool area in our basement. And I was fascinated with tools, like literally fascinated with tools. But that other spark was the fact that because I was so creative and I was so interested in so many things my daddy was doing, building, my daddy did some of everything. He worked at Ford Motor Company in Detroit. So, and then he worked on cars. My daddy fixed on the house, carpentry, plumbing, electrical. My daddy did it all. He was the jack of all trades. I love my dad. So of course, me being up under my daddy, I'm around him and his tools and stuff, you know. We seeing what he's doing. He's working on cars and things, but it was actually being in second grade. I could actually remember my teacher, Miss Green. And she's still alive, I'm not sure, but Miss Green gave me an inspiration. And it was, I don't think she was trying to, she was just doing her job. And you know, we were in class and she always had some projects for us. And the one that struck it for me was the plain simple battery in the wires in the light bulb. That was it. I was hit by the lightning bug. It was over.
Okay,
And
okay.
that was it.
So
Just
you mean an in-class demonstration or experiment is the
yeah,
thing that got you really your cognition kind of
yes.
motivated towards the area, what I guess what we're talking, that would be a science, more towards the science.
Yeah. And then the
Okay.
fact that I was in a class, I had an awesome teacher, Miss Jennings. And anybody who grew up in Detroit, West Side, went to Dawson, Miss Jennings was the teacher. We were the class. She taught 3 grades at one time. So we were like the advanced class. And so we did a lot of hands-on experiments, a whole lot of just practical things. So we didn't just learn by the book, we did practical. So we put our hands to a lot of use to be able to do what we saw and to learn, you know, as we went along. So being in her class and then us being with Miss Green has so many different experiments. So and they just all fell into one. Just exposed to a lot.
Wow. You know what? That is really important in community today too, when
Yes.
you get to see a chance for teachers that really were passionate. I think,
Oh, honey,
you
she
know, we
was.
still have teachers that are passionate, but I think the students will tell you they're far in between.
Yeah.
And I think if you were a kid that was growing up during the early 70s, 80s, that you would be able to get 4 or 5 teachers back to back that were great teachers. I
Yes,
think the
we did.
students now are like, wow, I can't wait till I get that one teacher or whatever
Right.
teacher. Like it's almost a given a lot of times that students will get a dynamic teacher from
Yes.
K through 5 because, you know, that's all the energy. Those teachers are
Yes.
energetic, but it
Yes.
appears to me a lot of times, and I've worked inside the school system, is that by 6th grade, teachers lose their enthusiasm. And because of
Oh,
that,
really?
students lose their
Yeah.
enthusiasm. So I'm glad that you're letting us see that one of the things that helped you become who you are is
Yes.
teacher enthusiasm, teachers knowing that students are able to do things beyond what the textbook says. And I think that's
Yes.
what
Yes.
your teachers figured out. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and with my parents, you know, my mom too. One of the things that I love that my mother played an integral part in pushing us to be better, to do better, she never took, she took challenges that we may face and she pushed us towards the challenge to take it head on. So with her and then having a teacher, Miss Jennings was very integral with every student, you know, so she connected with all her parents as much as she could or was allowed to. So it was like, it was definitely a community, you know, definitely a community within our class, let alone our school.
And I think this would, I don't know what time frame you're talking about. I don't know your age yet, but I think that what the age range or the time period you're speaking in is prior to when people started saying STEM and STEAM and using words like that to describe kids that were interested in, you know, math and science and technology at that time. So I think this is pre-STEM and STEAM. And so
yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah,
And so,
it
you know,
was.
yes. So you were just at the beginning of the spark of information.
Yeah.
So it's good that you, and I noticed that you mentioned Detroit. I would have never thought with your accent, Detroit. I thought maybe closer to Mississippi or Kentucky. So I'm pretty good at, I traveled. So I thought maybe you were coming from really rural down south, but actually you were coming from the pinnacle of mechanics, because Detroit Motor City really was. All of those kids' parents worked at the factories. You would be mechanical minded.
Exactly.
So, you know, I make connections. See, I'm more from a psychology background. Right. And correlations is what I look for. I look for patterns and correlations. And I said, wow, just think about it. Two parents probably, you know, not both parents didn't have to work at a factory, but just having one parent working at that factory. And, you know, you had a lot of men, especially men of color. And I have people that come from Detroit. And it was like, there were guys that were really smart that worked for Ford Motor Company. They never got their chance. Before Tesla came, there were guys, older black men that would let the kids use little motorbikes in Detroit. They knew electronics. They would put things together. They could make anything go. And he said they just didn't get the opportunity to work at those levels of design. They thought they were more manual. But a lot of those people were designers, and you wouldn't even know some of those designs that Ford used were used by people that you would never see, because they, you know, they would take them down and just say, hey, what do you think about this? And wouldn't even tell you that you were part of the design team and send you back on the motor line. And you didn't even know that you were part of that design. And I think that's why it's so important for us to have shows like this to show that, you know what, women are interested in STEM, that people of color are developing stuff. So let's move on to our next topic. We're going to our commercial break, but we're not really going to commercial break. And because we'll spice this out. And but you know, another thing I want to know about is, okay, you got a girl here, she's into STEM, around 21, she's working for, you know, automotive companies. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did you jump into the next piece? Because it seems like your life has been sort of like a train of progression.
Girl. Wow. So what ended up happening, like my mother said this, and I think I shared this with you before. My mother said, girl, you're a jack of trades. I mean, jack of all trades, but a master at none. Well, the thing about it is that some people don't quite understand people who are multifaceted and able to do multiple things and be able to be, you know, be able to do them well. But that's definitely me. I divorced, you know, was married, then I got a divorce. And upon a divorce, I ended up injuring, I can't even say I injured myself. I ended up having back surgery, which actually put me out of my field for a while. And because I had already been dabbling a little bit with natural medicine, it gave me an opportunity to learn more about natural medicines and how they work with the body, because I was going through so much pain at one time. And I didn't want to get hooked on drugs or whatever. So I started doing more and more and more. Then I started doing more experiments on myself on what worked and what didn't work. And then I started learning medicines on a molecular structure, as well as my body on a molecular structure. So that took me into doing a little bit more research about being an entrepreneur. I went to Detroit Entrepreneur Institute, learning how to run my own company, and worked a lot with being trained through the SBA, Small Business Administration with SCORE, and did a little bit of this, a little bit of that before. Now, mind you, I already went to school for hair too. So I went to school to be a hair technician. I'll be a hairstylist, doing nails and makeup and all that type of stuff. So that was like a little hustle on the side to while I was down. And then, like I said, I went to school, back to school for massage therapy, and ended up running my own company and loved it. Doing neuromuscular therapy was my thing, you know. So by this time, I'm already looking like almost 20 years in natural medicine. So it all went together, me understanding the molecular structure. And
Okay.
and then I kind of was getting burnt out of the hustle and bustle. You know, I ran my own practice, had a, you know, I was insured. I was able to take prescriptions from doctors. I worked alongside with doctors and working with their cases, personal injury cases. I had a couple of doctors as my patients. But it was just so hard just to keep up with being a one woman show or trying to get somebody to come work with me. It was just too much. And so my mom and dad had already been in my ear. Why don't you go back to school? Why don't you go back and do what you're great at? Be an electrician, do engineering. Blah, blah, blah. I said it was always in my ear, always in my ear. And just one day it just hit me like, you know what, girl, close this business down and go back to school and get your engineering degree. And that's exactly what I did. Went back
Okay.
to school.
So, okay. So there was, you know, and that's the thing you know, this show really focuses on. A lot of time, I think a lot of times we want things to be linear.
Right.
And they're more spiral.
Oh, girl, yes.
And I've been, you know, I had a recent interaction with someone, and that was the imagery I showed. I said, you know what, I think sometimes we're so busy wanting people to do this even in our lives to just go the straight away. And it's even in relationships. But I noticed that your life is a spiral. And I think that, you know, when you think about the lotus and the different things, the life sources there, you know, when you think of Simba and Mufasa, you think about the circle of life. And I think things are circular. So you move from, to me, it was a natural progression for you to move from an auto body to the main body system.
Yes, it was all electrical.
And you move back into something where you learn how to, okay, now I need to know how to engineer both based off of that mind frame. Yes. Very, very particular way of doing things.
Yes,
so I salute you for that. And so now you're now you're back in school. I mean, after your parents have told you, you've moved back into your field again, and this time with a different piece of your field, because electronics is a little bit different. So now what are you seeing? Do you feel like you still match the field or belong in the field when you retire?
Oh, heck yeah. You know, it's crazy because it's come full circle. Like, I didn't know why I was doing the certain things I was doing, why I was interested in certain things. Nobody else could tell me because they looked at me and thought I was crazy. It was like, oh, Shane, you just all over the place. I've heard that for so many people close to me and people who didn't even know me. She all over the place. She don't know what she's doing. However, being obedient, I was so obedient. I'm so glad that I was obedient to just my feelings and what I thought and what I felt like I should be and what I should have been doing. It's come 100% full circle for me. In which I've called my life to be kind of eclectic, you know, in its own right, or eccentric. Just because somebody don't do, like you said, don't do a full circle 100, 360 degrees, but the fact of the matter is I still ended up right back where I started, and it's completed me because with that being said, I went to school, you know, I was an electrician. I learned the body inside and out, molecular structures of plants and how it works, all electrical now, y'all. And then I went to school, got my engineering degrees, and now I'm in school for biomedical engineering. Now I'm an engineer, but everything is based off electricity. Everything, plants, electricity. I've learned the basis of electricity. My body is electricity. Now I'm learning how to be an engineer of that electricity.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
I mean,
and you have some real interesting thoughts too. You have some interesting thoughts that on dirt. Tell our listeners a little bit about dirt and where you ended up with some. You have some really, tell me a little bit about the dirt. I love hearing about the dirt piece.
Yeah, okay. So dirt has microbes in it. Electricity, you got your protons and electrons. Of course, neutrons, neutral, and NEU, neutrons.
Okay, so slow down for my listeners, because remember, we don't speak molecular biology.
Right. But the dirt actually is electric. And so therefore, I was doing, I don't know what made me looking, but I've been looking for something different with electricity. And I found this group, this company over in Europe somewhere, and it's called Plant E. And they actually take plants and found that there's electricity being emitted from photosynthesis to the plants, and it emits energy. So that got me into looking a little bit more about it. And then I found out about this other company called Mud Watts. Yeah, girl.
What was the first name of the first company again?
Plant E. And it's over in Europe.
Plant E.
Plants
Okay.
E. Yeah, that we find out that plants actually emit energy. And so that's an experiment that I am planning on working on really soon, as well as with the dirt. Mud Watts, they have these little I guess you say little compartments that you actually put the plant in, and you put your cathode and your anode in with the filament, carbon filament, and it actually, after a while, the dirt microbes start eating, and they call it, I should say this, the microbes eat the dirt, or the other microbes that's inside of the dirt, and which causes the electricity inside the dirt, which actually can be a dirt battery. So it's like, so I look at my ancestors, those from Egypt, Egyptian, the Indian, those from India. We look at all their different technology, which was modern to them. We call it ancient. However, we actually can go back and find that they were already ahead of the game. Right. Natural energy. So I think it's imperative that we, as in our time, in the 21st, 22nd century, we should be looking back to what they did. They weren't having this problem that we having with all this pollution and stuff, carbon and all this carrying on. So yeah, we need to listen to them and try to learn from them.
Yeah. So Chandrina, before we left, we talked a little bit about some of the things that motivated you to continue going, in your path and your purpose. We talked about, the impact of parenting, because a lot of times as we grow older, sometimes we don't look at our parents as our main advisors. And that depends on what type of parents you have. But I see that from what you've said, that your parents were very had an impact in your development, especially decision making. Yeah. And sometimes, if you have parents that you look at their life and you look at your life and you say, I want something alongside that, then maybe it's not too bad to kind of listen to some of their guidance, because we move past parenting, until where you have to do it, and say, you know what, I'm your parent, and I want you to do this because I know I can see from the outside that this is where you belong. So I like the fact that, that you shared that your parents had some, you were grown and they were still helping you along. And sometimes I think as adults, it's not, we need to just, be a little bit more open. Yes. Because we're grown, to listen to the things that others have for us. And sometimes it will be hard, doesn't it? So I guess that's where my next questioning is, and I didn't know which one to give first, but I'll give this one first. Tell me, when it comes to business and relationships, what's your number one deal breaker? Smooches.
What's my number one what?
Deal breaker. What's a deal breaker in business and relationships?
You're talking about any kind of relationship, not romantic.
Business or relationships.
Both of them, being able to trust. Trusting the person, whether it's in business and or relationships, or both. Being able to trust that person, and because you can't have either without trust. So being able to be able to trust that person, what they say, and pretty much that's exemplified what they do.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess the next question would be, would you be able to describe a time or event in your life where you had to eat humble pie?
Oh my goodness, girl.
As a intellect and educator, we can be, I'm right, ain't nobody right. And I want to know what type of, whether or not you're able to admit to your wrongs or right, or there was a time you did wrong and you had to say it, even though you're as brilliant as we can be, sometimes we have to.
I don't know. And somebody else probably will have to tell me that. I'm serious. The reason why I say this is because I try my best to always be humble. I'm a student for the rest of my life. And I know I don't know everything. So I'm always open to learning. Even I don't know what kind of show this is, a child show or adult show, but even in my marriages, to accept when I'm wrong and to learn from it. I want to know what I did wrong. Help me understand what I could do to make me better. Okay. I'm open for, and I don't want to say scrutiny because that could have a negative connotation. So I'm open to what word is it? oh gosh, I can't even think of the word, but I'm open to find out how to be better, what I can do better,
Constructive
improvement. It's growth.
criticism,
It's
constructive
growth.
criticism, or when
Yeah,
people tell you,
criticism.
okay,
I'm open for criticism.
okay,
Yeah. So me being humble, I try to live my life as humbly as possible. And then when it's
excellent.
time for me to toot my horn, I do it. I don't have a problem with doing that a little bit either.
Okay. I think
You
that's
know?
what they've been talking a little bit about that. It's funny that you say that. It's funny, it's not even on my question list, but I will address it.
Right.
So when it comes to women of color, like the type
Yeah.
of confidence you just said, like, well, I'm really not a person that ever had to eat humble pie because I'm constantly humble. But there's another piece in there that sometimes people get mixed up with us being the way we are, and that is confidence. And another person in the news that's recently, this is current, that has been coming under fire for their confidence is Sha'Carri Richardson.
Oh, girl.
Yes. So a lot of people have come and fought in her behalf to say, you know what, when men, football players and basketball players have talk junk and do it, even if, Floyd Mayweather have been boxing,
Yes. Woo,
she's
girl.
just doing something that men have been doing. But
That's
for
sport.
women, she's really had to close down some of her social networks because people have not seen confidence like that in so long that they think it doesn't belong in a woman. So, how do you build your confidence, and how do you do it working around others who don't look like you? Because I think that's one of the things I struggled with early on in my career, being to be who I am confidently when I looked at everyone around me did not look like me. So they were constantly saying that I was either angry, bossy. There were never words to describe who I was. I want to know, how do you get around, or how do you build your confidence even when someone punches it down or tries to deflate it?
Right. Well, first of all, with Sha'Carri, she's in the industry of sports. Sports mean you got competition, which means that if you think you're good or you know you're good, then you gotta show it. That comes with the trash talking, and you the ish and all that type of stuff. So I don't even understand why they complain. Why they complain? Because she's in the industry. If you know, who have you ever saw to be as bad as a sister is and be quiet about it? Even FloJo and them had a self-confidence. They might have been not as boisterous as verbally, but they walked with that pride. They walked with their heads held high in the way they struck their stuff. They had confidence too. So I don't know. People just always gonna have something to say. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what you look like, no matter how you act, somebody always got something negative to say. And with that being said, you is gonna be take the bitter with the sweet. It's gonna be some stank people, and just put them in that category of being stank. And them folks gonna be there, just keep doing you. That's the only thing I can say about that.
And when it comes to women, I love how you gracefully just supported our sister, because a lot of times we're not looking at us as having these backgrounds. We come out of these backgrounds, and all she's saying is, I understand that other people are better than me, but y'all just don't understand it. Coming from Louisiana, the dirt, the red sticks. She's coming from a place where the racism and discrimination are the all-time high. So all she's just letting you know, for me to get out of that mud, that sticky mud, it was hard, and I have, I'm here and I'm breathing. And I think Serena Williams also struggled a little bit with people saying, what, her and her sister are too confident. But the father always said, what, that's what it is. They need this, and not to interrupt it. So thank you for speaking to current events, and also speaking to our community on how confidence is one thing that our young women will need. But once they start going into STEM fields, they're going to start to see more. That you're going to need more confidence, because remember, research, in order to push your research idea or your hypothesis, you have to be firm and confident. A lot of times the things we want to study, they don't want to study. And so you have to keep pushing people to let them know, I got this study. I know what I'm doing. I know what the fixed variable is. I know what I know what this is, and let me do it for my people, because there's some testing that we need that you guys aren't taking care of, and we're going to need people that look like us.
Oh, absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about your robotics, and you talk a little about physiology, but how does robotics fit into this picture that you're drawing for the people?
Okay, so and I'm going to tie in what we just talked about into this. So, being in school, in high school, um, it was never a lot of females in the field I was in. I first started out in drafting. It was probably 3 women. Um, so I was almost getting used to the roles that to the education I was getting and gathering for myself at a young age. Kind of somewhat prepared me to be where I am right now. I can remember being in, like I said, with CAD, being in going to electrical class. We had a high school, then we had vocational school. So it was like maybe 2 or 3 women, and probably 2 of us stuck it out through the whole process. So, being around with guys, always, hearing the guys talk, the guys laugh, the guys, whatever. Always being the few women, or being the one that stands out the most because you are the only woman, is something that we already have to deal with. So it's almost like you always got to prove yourself, whether you talking or not. Just your presence alone, they're always watching you. So by the time I graduated, no, even before I graduated, I had to do my internship. And doing my internship, it was the same way. You had to prove yourself. Then by the time I got into my career, I worked at a place called, my first job was Pico Kamau. Well, it's Kamau now, but it's called Pico. But just to prove your self-worth, or just show that you're able to do it. I had this one experience coming right out of high school, and I worked for a place called Harlan Electric Company. And that means that we actually worked commercial. So I mean, we were big dealing. We were actually developing. There was a development going on in the rural part of Detroit, so suburbs. And so here I am, 21 years old, in the dirt. They're sticking me down in the trenches. I was really small, and I'm so small I could fit down in the ground in the manholes, and they had to blow the pipes. And the pipes, you get mud and all this water blowing on you, because I had to actually grab the conduit and pull it through the pipes. So being a woman, all men, I'm the only woman on this particular team because there's only 2 women that work for the company as electricians. Here I am, an apprentice, coming in, and I have to use the restroom. What do? I am not about to go in the bushes. I'm not about to go in the tall grass. That means I had to work from the job, walk from the job site. Let's get permission. Excuse me, can I use the restroom? They looking at me like face all tooted up, looking like, huh? Can I use the restroom? Yeah. So I had to go walk all the way to my car, or drive around and find a restroom that I can use, that I felt it was clean enough to use the restroom in. Come back. So if I got to use the bathroom 2 or 3 times that day, they looking at me like I'm crazy. Of course, I end up getting some slack for it. One of the bosses was like, well, you got to learn how to use the restroom like the rest of us. I am using the restroom like the rest of y'all, just not out in the open. So it was, yeah, girl, baby, what you want me to go is out in the bushes and the grass? No, ma'am, and no, sir. So that was the kind of scrutiny, the type of sexism, that I encountered at an early age.
I can't do the job because I want to use a clean bathroom.
Because I want to use the restroom.
Funny.
Yes.
You guys over there at Harlan, we're going to remember you guys. And I know some of you guys are going to remember Chandrina. And I know she did good work. You better get over here at Smooches Radio and put a comment down in the chat and let me know how you working that out right now with other women.
Smooches. Yes. So that was just like little things like that is stuff you had to encounter. As I came out of the commercial field and found my love and passion inside the industrial field, working with automation and PLCs, walking up on the scene, I'm looking, my hair done. At this time I used to be weave fabulous. I used to put my weave on, my nails was long and pretty, makeup on, steel toe boots. And I'm walking in, because I did contract work, walking in on the floor for the first time. Guys automatically like, hey, are you boss, sweetie? I'm like, no, sir, I'm just looking for blah, 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 blah. Oh, he's over there. So I go talk to him, hey, I'm here for the new position, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I want you to follow behind this person. I want you to shadow him for 2 days and let him show you the ropes. No problem. So it's like I'm sitting there watching a guy wire up whatever it is that he was wiring up for 2 days. Making small talk, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, by the 3rd day, they're like, you think you got this? And I'm like, I think I can handle it. I think I can handle that. Next thing you know, I'm doing my thing. What happens after that? Now I got spectators. people walking around with their coffee mugs, walking by slow, trying to find out if I'm doing with certain things. You got that? You think you can handle it? You know, making a little small talk. Before long, I'm knocking it out the box. And now everybody and their grandma like, oh, she knows her business. Now I'm getting all of the hellos. How you doing? If you need any help, I'll be over here. You need me to wire something for? You need me to drill something for? You need me to... I would have like all kind of people asking for if I needed their help now. But it's like I had to prove myself first. I didn't know I was under scrutiny. You know, I was just doing me. But the fact of the matter is, it's like I got more respect showing them, just doing my job, that I knew what I was doing. And I got everybody's respect after that. So it's like we're always under a fine-tooth comb, even when we don't think we are.
So Chandrina, so a lot of our listeners are going to say, but wait a minute, everybody has to prove. A lot of the listeners that don't look like you and I, or maybe have a different perspective on how things work, why say, well, that happens to everyone. Even if a new guy came on, that would happen to a new guy. I mean, what's the big deal? Because a lot of times the things that we're saying are issues, or we're saying that this happened to us, a lot of people are dismissing it as, you know what, you guys are too sensitive. Tell them what you exactly mean. It's not that, you know, you knew for a fact that, not just because I was a person of color. She didn't even say that. She said I was a woman. And that wasn't racism. It was the male ego state trying to make me feel I could not do the job because number one, I went to the bathroom. The next thing is you send me with 2-day training. Where does the onboarding do 2 days? Nowhere in America. But you thought that I wasn't paying attention. Now you know my brain because maybe you have a photographic memory. Some things, tools that we have, they don't even know. And it comes from our parenting. How come can I remember so many numbers? How can I remember things? People have phones. I can remember phones without them. That was training that we received in my background family. I noticed that my friends who didn't look like me didn't receive this training. But my mother made sure we knew all the her sisters and brothers' numbers in case anything happened. And she said we had to hold them up here, not on a piece of paper.
Yes.
And so a lot of kids used to ask me, how do you remember that? They had been trained. They have doctors and lawyers and mathematicians for uncles and professors, but I didn't. My mother's doing basic level right now. You better not forget. And if she asks you what her mother number is, you better be able to give it.
Right.
So there's a thing that I want our listeners to connect with, and that is always knowing that we're always under scrutiny.
Yes, see? Always. See? And just, girls, for sure, and I'm going to piggyback off of that. You said that. One of the things that, why I would say it was me being a woman or a Black woman, because I had somebody there was somebody there who was not a Black person and was not a woman, who got a position, same position that I had, only because his father, uncle, or whomever got him a position. He had no training, no previous experience, and was doing the same work that I was doing. And I'm more I was being paid more than me too, because that goes on a lot within our industry, or just industries where women, let alone Black women, get paid a lot less. So we do encounter racism and sexism in the work field, but definitely within, certain type of non-traditional trades. However, but how I knew that he didn't know what he was doing, because when you get a set of blueprints or schematics and you're getting it from, our customer who may be Mazda, Chrysler, or GM, or Ford Motor Company, you got a set of blueprints, a stack of blueprints or schematics this thick. You got to know how to read line for line and find it. Yep. If you don't know how to read a blueprint, page 1 is not where line 1 is going to start just because it's on 1. Line 1 could be all the way at page 90. You got to know how to read a blueprint and schematic and understand, really understand what you're doing. So by the time you finish wiring, you realize you done skipped the whole line because you don't even know how to read the blueprint. So therefore, you don't waste the customer's time and money when they're looking at, okay, I'm waiting for my particular product to be finished by a certain time period. And it's not because somebody done messed up or the engineer messed up, because sometimes we would get engineers that didn't even know how to, they see things one way. They don't see things 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. So therefore, when they're drawing out a particular blueprint, it don't work. Some things just don't work practically. But if you don't know that as an electrician or know that as your craft, you'll go ahead and mess up so much work. So you got a whole month's work that you got to start all over because you didn't catch a problem in the beginning. So now there you go. You got the engineer. You got to redo his work. And now the boss is looking at him, but they're looking at you because you should have caught it. When you run into those situations, you realize who know their business and who don't know their business. You know,
so this
it's
is
easy
not a
to
field
pick up.
that you can finagle. You're not going to be able to come in here and be like, oh, I've been doing this with my uncle, so I think I know what I'm doing. No, it's higher than that. And we are getting to the end of our show, and I know that we have so much more, but if you guys want this show, go ahead and look at, you know, we're going to be on New York 104.5 The Beat, and for the next 4 weeks, and starting airing on September the 5th. And you can catch us for brunch, 4 weeks in a row. We're going to be airing there. And I want you guys to continue looking up Chandrina. She has an interesting background, but I want to move towards our last piece. And that's, so now that you've gotten all that out, and tell me, I don't know whether you want to tell me a little bit about Blue Stocking or tell me about your vision for this school that you're trying to create.
Well, Blue Stocking is everything that I've mentioned and everything that I am and want to do. So, hey, you get it.
Okay. So all of this encompasses Blue Stocking.
Yes, it's all of me being a prism. You know, I'm that prism. I'm shining from all different areas, all different lights, you know, all different gems.
Okay.
You know, type of situation. But working, okay, so now today, here we are in our climate. I work at a hospital working as a biomedical technician. And we never know what's going to happen in this climate. So I feel like I've been looking for a position for so long, and I finally landed this position. I'm not sure if what's going to happen from one day to the next. So I feel like I got so much that's in my brain, so much in my heart that I want to give back to my community, give back to the children. They're the ones that's going to follow up behind us. We need to make sure that these babies are sound in mind and got skills and practical skills, not only to know how to book skills, but they need the practical skills to be able to back up what they know. And one of the things that I want to do is be able to find each child's niche, just like I was able to find it. I didn't know I loved electrical work until I reflected back what started it. And I want to be able to do the same thing for our children, especially if they're interested in engineering and technology. So with that being said, I would love to, and I am, and I will be starting my own virtual training for children. So
great. Oh my goodness, this is excellent. I think parents are going to want to feel this, see this, and be a part of this. And I know you're still working on that. And so your big picture is to teach and educate students in the STEM areas. Okay, and that's something that you've been building and working on. And finally, the big piece, the one that I was telling everyone when I when I posted, I was like, oh my God, do you know who Chandrina Ajamar is? She is the person that with a group of people had a startup for Black resorts. That is maybe we should ask Chandrina to talk a little bit about that. Maybe we can get a part 2. Is it possible we can get a part 2?
Yeah, part 2 would be awesome.
Part 2.
That's a reason for me to come back.
So listen, guys. When we come back, look, you can't get everything and see that. And the thing about seeing things, I can't try to push everything in one episode because I really want you to see it and hear it.
Yes, retention is everything.
Yes. And so we're going to talk, so part 2 is going to be about, creating entrepreneurs, projects with people. You can tell me a little bit about the Black resorts when you come back. I've really enjoyed you. I mean,
thank you
your
so much.
energy is coming through the screen, and I think that people are going to love this show series. I'm getting some really great people. And there was one more question, maybe I can bring that back to as well, about what you see. And I think that would be in part 2 if we talk resorts and what you see for the community, for the future of communities.
Yes, so important. It's so important. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love it. I love it.
I am so glad to be a part of your journey now. And
thank you.
Will always be a part of it. Hey, guys, guess what? Chandrina Ajamar is coming back to Smooches Radio.
Yes,
to see us and to show us about the Black resorts and other things that we're going to need in these as we build these new communities.
Yes, it is so important. Yes.